Hey, what's up guys? In this video, I'm actually going to go a little bit longer and teach you guys how I use Facebook to get daily leads and sales for my business. And that there's 3 methods that I use to do that. But what's really key is the order that you use them in. And what most people do is they do them backwards. And it's why they have such a hard time getting Facebook to actually get leads for the business. In fact, the best way to lose your shirt and your budget and your steam and emotional mojo for the project is to do it in the order that most people do it. I'm going to teach you the exact opposite and why it's still the answer on how I get daily leads and sales. This works if you are an e-com, in supplements, info, coach, consultant, book, if you're high ticket, or even super high ticket B2B. Yeah, this is still the way that I do that. I'm going to go and I'm going to teach you in this video really how I think about Facebook, because Facebook is not the answer. And most people think that it's like this slot machine. I'm going to teach you also how to go in and leverage posting groups and ads to get these daily leads and sales. Get a piece of paper. I usually charge a lot of money for this on my stages, and let's dive in. So my first job ever actually was in an injection molding plastic factory. I literally stood on these big machines. They were so loud, you had to wear ear protection. I get heat calluses on my hands. And that was my first job. After that, I worked in a warehouse, cleaning a warehouse. I was a steel tire for pool construction. And I also worked at Discount Tire. I was I was the guy busting tires and trading them around. I remember the day when I walked out of that job and that type of job, and I held up this piece of broken tile from the construction site. And I said, I'm going to learn to go get rich. I'm not going to do a job like this ever again. I am not at all slamming if that is what you do. However, I just knew that I wanted to go have some serious money in my life. And so I inevitably started looking into things like Facebook. Well, around that time, I'm a huge fan of Robert Kiyosaki. Any Kiyosaki fans? I think he's the man. His book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which if you've not read, is kind of the gateway drug for a lot of us who are entrepreneurs. I was reading his book. An ad came across the radio. Robert Kiyosaki is coming to a place near you. And I was like, what? That's awesome. This dude's the man, right? And I go over and I sign up for his thing. For 3 days, I sit in there and it was $200. And at the time I was a sprinkler trench digger. My boss was literally too cheap to get a trenching tool. So the movie Holes was basically a documentary. I've dug a lot of holes. I mean, with a shovel. And so I was like, that's a lot of holes to dig. Holy smokes. So I go and I'm digging these holes and I'm so excited to go to Robert Kiyosaki's thing, which at that time was $200. And I didn't know I was in a funnel. I go to this thing and I sit down. My dad's a full stack developer. He goes, you're getting scammed. And I was like, I'm not getting scammed, Dad. I'm not getting scammed. I was between college semesters. I come back home and I was like, I'm not getting scammed. I'm not getting scammed. This is awesome. And he's like, I'll come with you tomorrow. I'll tell you. I'll show you. You're getting scammed. I was like, all right. So my dad comes with me and I'm sitting there with him. And pretty soon I start seeing my dad take out like a piece of paper and start taking notes. And we go back home and my mom goes, so was it a scam? My dad goes,
we spent $30,000 on a coaching program.
And we were hooked, man. We were learning stocks and options and financial trading. And we did that for a while. And my dad got quite good at it. I went back to school. I started trying other business things. And a couple of years goes by and I talked to my dad. And I said, Dad, how's the stocks and options trading program going with Kiyosaki? And he goes, it's good. And I said, are you still trading the national market, the New York Stock Exchange? And he goes, no, I'm not at all. And I go, really? We spent $30,000 on that program. Why are you not trading the New York Stock Exchange? Stick with me because this is why a lot of you, if you're not using Facebook, this is why you're failing. All right. This is the key moment. I said, Dad, you're not trading New York Stock Exchange? He goes, no, man, I'm trading Forex. Forex is the global market. And I said, we spent all that money to learn the national market. Why are you going to the big Forex market? He said this line that literally changed how I market. And what he said was, he goes, Stephen, the pie is so much bigger. I can afford to be less skilled, but still take home more money. Back in that day, he's like, the New York Stock Exchange was trading $169 billion a day, but the Forex market was trading $5.3 trillion a day. The pie is so much bigger, I can afford to be less skilled, but still take home more money. Now, translate this to right now. Everybody is on Facebook, right? I can't remember what the stats are, but I mean, we literally log in, I think it was 4 to 7 times a day. I mean, everybody is. The billions and billions of people. I mean, everybody's on Facebook. Every demographic, every type of business, they're on Facebook. And so if you're not using Facebook, like to translate that to right now, it's ridiculous to not be on Facebook and not be using Facebook as a lead gen method in 2025. If you choose a platform that's one of these brand new social media platforms that keeps popping in and saying, oh, we got this brand new platform, we got this brand new thing. If you think about it, it's a small platform. There's not as many people on it, which means you need to be more skilled. And there's certainly strategies to being first movers on a first platform. All right. And I'm not knocking that. But if you're trying to have stable daily leads from the internet, it's ridiculous to not use Facebook. So I'm going to go to my iPad here and I'm going to draw this out. I'm going to teach you how to think about Facebook really in 3 different methods. If you think about Facebook and you think about your marketplace, all right, let's say that this is what we call the red ocean. The red ocean just means that there's all this competition. There's other people that are selling similar products to you. And when I was in college, and I have other videos on this, so you can go watch them in this channel, I was always taught to leave competition. Oh my gosh, there's competition. I can't go sell in there because other people already are. Whereas we know now that's not true at all. In fact, that's the best place to go. So imagine your market. And let's say that for an example here, you're selling, I don't know, an e-com product. All right, so let's say this is the e-com red ocean. It's huge. All these people selling e-commerce on the internet. Biggest category kings in there, Amazon, right? Let's put Amazon right up here at the top of this market right here. Now, Facebook is not a market. I know they have a thing in there called the marketplace, but that's misleading. The way we treat this as marketers is we look at these markets, right? And we have this big company here called Amazon. And maybe here's another company here called Etsy. All right, there's another big company over here called Alibaba, right? There's Alibaba. There we go. And there's another one here, another one here, another one here. All these tiny e-com stores. Your store, all right? Or your sales funnel or whatever. You have to recognize that something like Facebook is not a market. And the reason I'm going through this and sharing this with you before I show you my 3 favorite methods for using Facebook for leads is that I find that people think about Facebook wrong. They think that Facebook is a market. Well, as a marketer, what we do is we actually think of Facebook, think of it like a channel. It's reach. Let's say that this represents Facebook right there, that line. Well, I just drew that line. There's a lot of reach through that channel. There's lots of reach, right? Maybe there's inside the e-com space. I know that Instagram, a lot of people use Instagram to reach the customers. Let's say this is a customer and that's a customer and that's right. There's customers, there's buyers inside that marketplace right there. And they're not in that market unless they've made a purchase. So you got all these people in there and look, tons of them you can see right here are on Facebook. Everybody in that market is on Facebook. But you guys remember when Clubhouse was the thing for like a hot second? Remember that way back in the day? Like Clubhouse was like I had people reaching out to me and they're like, should I be on Clubhouse? There's a brand new thing out called Clubhouse, and they would freak out about it. But the reality is it's the wrong question to ask. What question should you be asking? The question you should be asking is, what distribution channels are my dream customers already using? I want to meet them where they are. And so think about it like that. Let's say this little sign, let's say this is Clubhouse right here. Oops, Clubhouse. And it's got this little tiny baby reach right there. Well, if I'm a marketer trying to figure out how to get daily leads and sales for my company, and if I'm wearing the marketing hat, not the entrepreneur hat, I'm going to do this kind of research and work before I ever go out and make a post or any kind of content. And this is what people fail to do. And it's why they just kind of post stuff randomly. They're just putting stuff all over the place. It really is the reason why I find so many people struggle is they're literally thinking about these platforms wrong. The answer isn't the platform. The platform, like Facebook, is just a distribution channel for your marketing. And I know this might be a little bit nuanced, but these are the tricks and the secrets on how we continue to put out winners over and over and over again on things like Facebook is we see them as like, this is just a channel. It's just a way of reaching people. I don't need to learn the latest secret algorithm update that Facebook just came out with yesterday. I don't need to, oh my gosh, what time I post on Facebook. All my success is because of the time of day that I post on Facebook. Or there's a new algorithm hack that just came out. And if I use this word versus that word, when you zoom in that far, it's easy to just kind of go neurotic. And you see people just start getting freaked out by it over and over again. And it's why they think about this wrong. Just think about Facebook as a distribution channel for your marketing. And because your customers are already on it, they kind of run into your marketing. So that's how to think about this channel first and foremost. And I always like to frame these 3 things I'm about to share with you that way. Otherwise, again, we tend to become too obsessed with the algorithm. My success in my business is because of the algorithm. And I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but they zoom in too far. What did Zucker just say yesterday? Because that's what's going to make this thing work. And it's like, that's not how the game works. Just being on Facebook, it's so much bigger. I can afford to be less skilled than if I go on some brand new platform. That's my argument for why you're kind of dumb to not be using Facebook. Everyone's on it. If Facebook is not a market, but rather a distribution channel, what marketing do we need to put on it to get daily leads and sales? Well, number one, in fact, I did this yesterday with a client. It was a client that I was working with yesterday. They're trying to get more sales calls for their agency, and really big name. In fact, I think most of you who watch this channel would know who it is. And I was on with him and he said, we're struggling to get phone calls using Facebook ads. And I started looking at his stuff and they had the right tech setup. They had good click-through rates. They had all this stuff. I'm not saying you have to just use ads, but they had all the right stuff. And he's like, what are we missing? Well, this is what he was missing. And it's the number one thing that really hinges on all of your success from it. And it is a hook. You have to have a hook. Your product is not the hook. And so I have a whole other video that goes deep into hook writing. So I'm not going to go super far into that right here. But if you don't come up with a hook, you're not going to be able to use any of these channels. All of social media is going to feel like gambling. All success is going to feel like it's luck. And I'm talking to myself that way too. 10 years ago when I first started being an entrepreneur, I used to think, I was like, man, if only I had just the right setup, or if only I had millions of followers, I would be successful. And this person has millions of followers. And he was asking me still, how come we can't get leads? You don't have to have a huge following or any following to be successful on Facebook. Of course it helps, but it's not what things hinge on. What things hinge on and what I helped them with is number one, you gotta have a good hook. Go watch the other video that I've got on that on hook examples. Number two, so once you get a hook down, you're actually able to do these three methods to use Facebook a lot easier. So number one, first and foremost, have to have the hook. Must have a strong hook. And when I say hook, it's gotta be dripping in emotion, right? The hook is really based on the customer's current problem. It's customer problem. And that's actually what this client yesterday was messing up, is their hook was about their product. Don't write hooks about your product. Hooks are not about product. Hooks are about problems. Hooks are about emotional problems, right? So once you've got an emotional hook figured out that gets people to go, oh my gosh, this Steve Larsen is describing me. It doesn't matter if it's a video, it doesn't matter if it's a post, it doesn't matter if it's a carousel ad or any of these other methods. Those are just methods, right? But if there's no emotional hook that's dripping, describing the person's problem, you already are doomed to fail getting leads from Facebook. So here are the three methods then. One of my favorite methods, especially if you don't really have much of a following and if you're kind of starting out, this is going to sound cheesy, and I know we've all seen examples of this, but man, it freaking works and we still use it. So using it last week, what I do is I do something called the two-step post. A two-step post is that kind of post that you see where someone puts an image out, there's some copy on there. And basically what they're doing is they're saying, hey, this is what we've got. This is what we're doing. This is the problem that we're seeing that we've been able to solve with this cool thing we made. If you want it or you just want to learn more about it, could you just put a fire emoji in the comments? So that's what's so cool about Facebook, is it's still interaction. If I can get people to just interact, I'm already a shoe-in towards getting a lead and a sale. So this is all interact, all social media, but especially Facebook, heavy interaction when you're using it for leads. So the whole goal of the two-step post here is, can I get people to comment? So I'm going to grab all these comments and the people that are commenting, and I'm going to DM them. And I'm going to DM them usually something that is like a free lead magnet. Here's this little guide that I created, or here's a little, a free little training that I created. It's free. I usually like to put something out that's free. This two-step post method still works. And what's cool about the two-step post method is you can do this in groups, even if it's not yours, as long as you're following their group guidelines and all that. So that's number one, is the two-step post. I've found that the companies that use this the best have some kind of monthly cadence that they do this in. Maybe you do a two-step post every week. Maybe it's twice a month. Whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. You can't build any marketing systems if you don't create kind of cadences. So I want you to sit down here, and I actually literally will draw out a calendar like this with clients. I actually will do it on this iPad. There's tons of client examples of me doing this exact thing on this iPad where I draw out a month: Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Okay, so that's 7 days. And then what I'll do is I'll be like, all right, so hey, client, you're going to be using Facebook? They're like, yeah. Okay. All right, sweet. Your customers on Facebook, right? And I want them to say yes, because I know those are. And they're like, yep. I'm like, yes, they are. Okay, so what I want you to do is, when are you going to do the two-step post? Let's say that you do it every Tuesday at, 1 o'clock. All right, so I'm going to do strategy A, and I'm going to drop a two-step post. And maybe one of those is on your personal profile. Don't be afraid of doing that, by the way. People are always afraid, like, what if my friends and family don't like it? Then they won't engage. Who cares? You got to get over that just a little bit. What if someone leaves a mean comment? Can we just talk about that for a second as well? Let's just talk about that for a quick second. Anyone who leaves a hateful comment, they already hate you. You just didn't know it yet. That's my favorite way to think about it, because jerks exist, right? And you just gotta get over it, right? Anytime I wear a Capo's pig shirt, I guarantee someone is gonna go out and be like, this dude's just trying to make money. I'm like, yeah. The first time someone called me a capitalist pig, I actually thought that they were giving me a compliment. I didn't realize that they were roasting me. So some of the mentality that I have to have when you're using social media, because you're talking to the world and it will literally live past you, you have to have this mentality and recognize that some people are just having a bad day and they're just take it out in a weird way. But thick skin, don't make your sales suffer because of that, right? If you're as good as you say you are, poke the bear and don't be afraid of rocking the boat. Anytime anyone comments negative, frankly, those posts sometimes do better than anything else because I can actually just talk to them and they're like, oh, okay, I get it. Plus the algorithm is based on engagement. And so it's actually a good thing. When people, it doesn't really matter is my point. So you just got to get over that a little bit. And my mental state whenever I'm doing anything loud on the internet is 30% of people are going to love it. 30% of people are going to hate it. And that 30% in the middle, they're not quite sure yet. And my job is to talk to the 60%. But I'm going to thank the haters because they're also just boosting the algorithm. And it might be a little snarky, but sometimes I will literally comment to them and say, hey, I totally get it. I understand where you're coming from on this. I don't agree with you, but that's fine. And if they keep roasting me, hey, thank you. I needed this algorithm boost. You don't have to be that snarky, man, but sometimes often I am just a little bit back. So don't be afraid about it. So that's the first type of thing that I want to do. And I'm going to go calendar it. So it's not enough just to make the 2-step post like I'm showing right here. I need to come over on this side and I need to calendar it or else I'm not building systems as a marketer. And what that means is you're the system, which means you can't take a vacation. You can't take a break. You can't hire out anybody else. And you definitely can't create marketing scorecards and grow your income. You must build it into a system, must be in a cadence. Now that we have that planned out, here's my second favorite way to get leads using Facebook. And as I say this, I can already hear that there might be some people, in fact, let me know if you've had a hard time with this. Facebook groups, are they dying? Do people love them? Do they hate them? I don't really care. I use them for leads. Now, so they still work, by the way. We have lots of Facebook groups. I grew a Facebook group in the last 2 months to 900 people, almost 900 people, and been really effective. All right, so here's what we do, right? We create a free Facebook group around whatever our business does. Really, really broad, okay? And Facebook groups are more successful based on how you name them. So one of the biggest mistakes I see people making with Facebook groups is whatever they name the group, it's too narrow, right? You want to name broad. You want to think like, if we're looking back up here at this big red ocean, I'm not going to name the name of my group. Let's say it's Capitalist Pig Shirts. That's way too narrow. Why would somebody, when Facebook starts to recommend groups to join, because they still do that, and I get a lot of people who join because of that. Imagine you have people scrolling through their phone, scrolling through the phone, and they see a group called Capitalist Pig Shirts. That's too niche. It's too narrow. They don't have any affinity for that. We want to name stuff that's super, super broad. I want to name things that represent the name of the market that I'm serving, not my product. That's how you get groups to grow really, really quickly and use it as a lead gen source for your business. So the name really, really, really matters. The first Facebook group I ever created, I spent like a day or two just brainstorming names, and it grew organically. I always grow my groups organically, but it grew organically to 16,000 people very quickly because of the name. Now, once they're in the group, my job is to start creating relationship. I'm going to create relationship. I'm going to create value. I'm going to create trust. And the way that I do that is I'll usually have inside these Facebook groups, I'll have something that's like a free training that you can have just because you're in the group. So I might make a series of posts. All right, these are a series of saved, pinned, featured posts. Across the top of Facebook groups, you have those featured posts. So I'm going to go and create a series of featured posts that are saved, and they're like actually really valuable pieces of training. And so my favorite way to do it is 5. I want 5 posts that is a free, oh my gosh, I can't believe that this has been left up. Is this on purpose? Did he do this for real? And there's a reason why I'm doing this. There's a really great book called Oversubscribed by Daniel Priestley. Huge fan of Daniel Priestley. He's got great stuff. He's got this rule. They went out and they found out how much stuff does somebody need to consume on social media or in general before they're willing to be involved in your business, whether that's a purchase or whatever. And there's this rule called 7, 11, 4. We're trying to get past the rule of 7, 11, and 4. 7, 11, and 4 means 7 hours, 11 interactions on 4 platforms or 4 locations. What I'm trying to do by putting up free stuff in the group is I'm trying to get somebody past specifically the 7 and 11 piece. They're on Facebook, so it's only one platform, but I'm trying to get past that 7-hour mark, right? So it's not been unlike me to have these 5 posts, like trainings and actual real value, things that people should be paying for, that is actually past 7 hours if they actually go through it all. Does it make sense? This is one of the coolest ways to go be dropping value in there. And it's always in there, right? This isn't new stuff that I'm dropping on in. So when I'm setting up a group, I'm often thinking that, what's the way I can get past someone with 7, 11, and 4? I have a group. We're doing this right now. And it's a new group that I started about 6-8 weeks ago. And there's a free 7-day training that they get by being in there. And it was not a low production thing. I went out, I actually went to my events. I have a $1 million event studio that I built, and I did a 2-day course in front of a live audience, and I chopped up 7 of the key trainings. They're 30 minutes to an hour, and I put them straight in there, right? So I don't know if it quite equals 7 hours, but it's almost 7 straight hours of stuff that they can go through just for being in the group. Because what I want to do is I want to build that habit of coming back to the group. You ever join one of those Facebook groups and like great, I'm in it, and nothing ever happens. No one ever posts. That's failure. You don't want that. So that's the real reason for it. Now, what I'm going to go do to really turn up the heat is now I need to go in and what kind of posts am I creating inside that group? So you might be like, all right, I'm going to go do a 2-step post on anything that's not one of my groups every Tuesday, but I'm going to go make a post that's really, really valuable once a week. Let's say it's every Monday. So I'm going to come back here to the calendar and I'm going to put B. Awesome. Very cool. Right now we have a value-based post. We also have trainings that are in there that people can go to get past the 7, 11, and 4. And inevitably what starts to happen is you can see who the rising stars are. And even if they're not engaged in the group, I can go in and I can grab and I can start DMing the people that are inside the group and be like, hey, do you want to work closer together? Do you want to hop on a call real quick? And so Facebook groups, funny enough, are one of our top ways of filling our phones. You can fill like sales call calendars with ads and with all this other stuff, but we actually use groups for this. In fact, that's my next task after I shoot this video with you guys is I'm going in and I'm doing the last few pieces of copy changing because our goal is to put out 10 book a call calendar links every day. And what we're doing is we're leveraging Facebook groups. And funny enough, it doesn't even have to be your group, but I do recommend that every single business owner has a free group, a free community, and I'm naming it something that is very, very broad, right? So if I was going to go sell Capitalist Pig shirts, I might just call the group Capitalist Pigs. And people are like, yeah, capitalism, right? Man, it's really wide mouths. It's very, very wide, bringing people in. There's a 7-day training in there, a 5-day training in there, getting past the 7, 11, and 4 thing. And now I'm fostering this cool thing where I'm gaining relationship before I pitch them. And that's how people use Facebook wrong. They just start pitching all over the place. You don't have permission to pitch just because you have a group. You don't have permission to pitch just because you have a profile on Facebook. I got to cultivate relationships still. It's no different. Social media is social. Let's say you have, we had people over at our house for 4th of July. It was social. And a lot of them were my clients. I wasn't walking around, welcome to the house. Are you ready to buy free plus? I'm not pitching them when they walk. We're being social. It's the same thing on social media. I got to have that conversation. I need to be able to build that relationship up. And yeah, it takes a little bit of time, but now that we're building systems out of it, I also can go in and start creating eventually, what does a social media manager do? Most of the time they just we try to get our engagement up. What I'm really doing when I hire a social media manager is I'm handing them this, right? I'm handing them that. This is what you're going to be doing. This is how we're going to create value here. This is how you're going to start looking for leads here for our products. But the benefit of having a Facebook group cannot be overstated, understated, whatever the phrase is. Because let's say you pitch somebody and they don't buy. Well, at least then they fall back to the group. They don't just fall back out to the ether. So this is very, very, very important. This is about community building more than anything else, right? And community does not mean group. You're really fostering community. You're celebrating the rising stars. You're giving them ownership. You're actually asking them to do tasks each week if possible as well. Now, the best groups we've ever created have had that. All right, the third one here, I'm going to go with C. As I say this one, I don't want anyone... Could we just go to an education spot here? Please don't throw this down if you're like, I can't do that because XYZ. Can we let's have a quick conversation with that side of your head? Because we might need to educate it that it's wrong. Hey, that side of my head that wants to constantly say that things won't work for me. Thank you for looking out for me. Thank you for trying so hard to keep things away from me that might be painful or harmful, but you also might be wrong and I need to educate myself. Because I don't have the results in my life that I'm looking for in this moment, I need to recognize that I have a skill gap. I have a skill gap and a habits gap, and this might actually be it. All right, ready? Tell me if you actually did that down below. And I get that. It might be a little bit cheesy, but that's the reality of it. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater with this thing, okay? So here's what it is. It is ads. Ads are incredible. I'm writing a book right now. I'm co-authoring it with a guy who has spent $150 million on Facebook ads. Over 10 years, he's done that. $150 million in Facebook ads profitably. Like, wow. And I said, hey, I want to co-author a book with you on your strategies. I'm good at copy. I'm good at funnels. I'm good at offers and sales and marketing. But I haven't spent 10 years running ads like that. I think there's something here. And sure enough, there was. We did a 2-day workshop in my studio. We're writing a book together called Chief Ads Officer. Super excited about that. And he told me some interesting research that he found. If you go out and you just do organic posting, did you know that ChatGPT estimates that it's going to take 3 to 5 years for you to make an income you could live off of with just organic? Now, that's not always true, and there are absolutely exceptions to every rule, but it's like, hey, 3 to 5 years. However, if you choose to just kind of learn ads, it was like you actually in 3 to 6 months can be earning an amount that could replace an income. Ads is definitely where it's at. And ads collapse time. You just get in front of so many eyeballs so quick. Now, I did put it here last for a reason. If you're not posting content, ads is way harder because you don't know what messaging is working. Right? If you don't have a group, ads is way harder because if someone doesn't say yes, they don't fall back to a group. Does that make sense? This is really, really key to understand this. I'm saying this one last for a reason. One of my favorite marketers back in 1950, his name was Albert Lasker. Albert Lasker literally invented orange juice to save a company, Sunkist. It wasn't called Sunkist. He changed the name to Sunkist. And you guys know that thing inside of your kitchen? It's like that ribbed orange press. He invented that. That was a marketing firm that came up with that. What happened is this company came to him and said, our trees for some reason are overproducing oranges. We have nowhere to store them. And we find that we're actually cutting down orange trees, which is bad for our long-term business. We're killing our own trees. Help us sell all these oranges. And so Albert Lasker goes back to his creative cave and he's thinking about it. And he's like, what if we taught people to drink an orange? And they decide what they found is that by teaching people to juice the orange, someone would consume 2 to 3 oranges in a sitting, where if they just ate the orange, they would eat 1 orange. And so that's literally how the company Sunkist was saved. And they still use that campaign today called Drink an Orange. Why am I saying that? Albert Lasker has this really interesting line. And he says, the product that will not sell profitably without advertising will not sell profitably with advertising. Fascinating. Meaning ads are not this Hail Mary thing that just saves you. If you don't have your messaging dialed in even just a little bit, yeah, ads are a gamble. And that fear that you might be feeling about using ads is correct. But if I am posting stuff and I'm putting stuff out there and I'm starting to understand my customer and their experiences, and I'm not my customer, so I can't ask me, right? I don't fill my own wallet. So I got to get out there and understand my customer like crazy, far more than you probably do right now. But once I start to understand what messaging, what framing, once I understand the marketing that actually converts, now I go to something like ads and it's no longer a gamble. The product that won't sell without ads won't sell with ads. If I can't get it to convert, does that make sense? And that's what's so cool about social media. You have this profile, this piece of real estate that can reach kind of the world, even though Facebook reach can go up and down. But still, though, I'm going to go out and I have this grace period and before I go launch ads to really figure out messaging and what people are reacting to appropriately. And then I can come back and I can actually start running ads cheap, talking like $50 a day. And all I'm trying to do is I'm trying to put $50 in, or rather for every dollar I put in on ads, did I get $1 back out? I'm going to tell you right now a secret that many people will not tell you, that is a multi-million-dollar scenario. But Steve, I'm putting $1 in, I'm getting $1 back out. The reality is if I can do that, it means that I can get people in my door, get people to open their wallet, and get people on my list at break even. Break even is a multi-million-dollar scenario because I can sell them the second product and I don't have to pay Zuckersucker again. Okay. So that's really the goal. If I put $1 in an ad and I'm getting $1.10 back out, you're winning. Although it may not feel like it. The reason is because of how we use these ads. I never use ads to just bring awareness to something. Oh, I'm spending money so I can make you aware of my product. I'm going to make you aware of my product while I'm pitching you. I don't believe in awareness campaigns. But what I will do though, is I'm going to go drop $1 in an ads and try to get $1 back out. And if I can do that, let's say, in fact, funny enough, the guy spent $150 million on Facebook ads. He told me, he's like, we will spend $100,000 to make $100,000 because we know that is going to grow the company like crazy. And you might be like, that doesn't make any sense. Well, we recognize this is all front end money. Amateurs focus on the front end. What I'm going to go do is I'm going to take that list and I'm going to go and I'm going to sell them the next product. That's all profit, baby. I don't have to go in and acquire the customer again. They're already on my list. Does that make sense? So those are my 3 favorite ways to get traffic from Facebook. And we can go deeper into this if you guys want to. Please let me know. There's 2 types of funnels that I like to use ads with, specifically with Facebook. But this would make the video like wicked long. But that's it though. And I'm doing it in this order for a reason. So let's go in and let's update our marketing calendar, our marketing cadence. Let's say that I'm going to go out and for the next month, the goal is to get to ads as fast as possible. The goal is to get to ads at break even as fast as possible, but I need that grace period. So let's come over here. Let's say this is your first month as a business owner. All right, this is month number 1. What I would do is I would go and I would do what we have on these first 3 weeks. And let's say that I'm going to start ads at the end of the first month, because now I have a whole month to figure out, how's the messaging landing? Are people resonating with the product I've created? I'm just softly talking about it. What are their false beliefs? What are the things that I need to overcome in order to make a purchase happen? And I have a full month grace period to do that. And then at the end of the month, I'm going to be able to turn around and turn on super cheap ads. There's a very popular ad strategy called the $5 a day ad strategy, right? But it's still better than not doing ads, because when I put an ad out there, what I'm doing is I'm collapsing time. I'm putting my thing in front of so many people faster than I could through organic traffic, faster than I could if I went and knocked door to door. I'm literally collapsing time. I'm getting my thing in front of so many people. So you're going to want to get to ads, but the way that I like have people doing it is more like what I've drawn right here. I'm going to go in, I'm going to say, hey, let's have a grace period where we're not going to risk any money on ads, but you could, even just $50 a day, right? I'm going to go out now and I'm going to start, hey, let's test this. And now let's just keep tweaking this thing till we make it so we're at break even, right? And then after that, of course, I want to make money on the front if I can. I'm obviously not satisfied if I just break even, but I also want to reframe that it's not losing. It is winning in the long run. And now the whole name of the game is, can I make it so it's $1.10 out, $1.02 out? There has been many campaigns I've done. In fact, the first multi-million-dollar webinar I ever did, I did exactly what I'm telling you, except I did this across 3 months. And I learned and I tweaked and I changed things. 3 months in, I had 150 grand in my hand from organic selling. And I took all that money and gave it to an ads person, which can feel scary. I think I gave maybe like a $20K per month budget or whatever. And from that, every dollar that we put in, we were getting $10 out. That, you tell me an investment that can do that. That's why this is like the creme de la creme. This is one of the fastest ways. And it didn't stay that way, $1 in and 10 out. It didn't stay that way, but eventually it kind of leveled out to $1 in. I think we stayed at like $2.50 out every week. So why would I ever turn that off, right? And this form and attitude of marketing is literally what's called direct response marketing. When I was in college, I was taught the other form of marketing, which is called general marketing. Literally, I'm not making those terms up. I was trained in college for corporate, and corporate has budgets for marketing. But why would I have a budget for marketing if I have this cash machine that I put $1 in and get $2.50 out every week? I'm not going to have a budget. I'm going to continue to just, let's put more in there. Let's put more in there. Let's put more in there, right? And then that's exactly what we did. By the time I crossed $1 million, we had spent about 300 grand in ads, and it happened fast, and then we just kind of set it, forget it. And I kind of forgot it existed for the following year. And I look back, I was like, oh my gosh, we're coming up on 2 million. Okay. And that's what's so cool about this. Marketing, as I end here, is very forgiving, you guys. If you are doing one project and you're babysitting that thing, and if you're learning and tweaking, marketing is not forgiving. If you're trying to do what most people do, which is they build a funnel and they build a product and they create some content and then they press go and they're like, did it work? That's not how to play this game. That's how to lose your shirt. And that's how most people play the game. Stop. What you want to do is you want to say, for the next 3 months, I'm going to go learn how to put $1 in and get $2 back out. And I'm only going to focus on one product, one offer, one funnel. Stop doing all these different projects. It just doesn't work, right? Because I need to be really attuned to what the market is saying. And let me make some tweaks and changes. Oh, cool. Oh, you didn't buy? And I did this. How come you didn't buy? Oh, that's your concern? I had no idea. And I wrote it down. Then I go to the next person. Hey, I saw that, I'd be DMing him or whatever. I saw that you didn't purchase. Can I just ask why for this feedback? Oh my gosh, I had no idea. That's crazy. I thought I built a perfect product. You never built a perfect product. There's no such thing as a perfect product. And you're not the customer, so you got to stop asking you. You got to ask them, right? So I just did all this research. And for the first 3 months, I went in and I just tweaked and changed and tweaked and changed and tweaked and changed. And it's super forgiving when you handle it like that. But if you do what most people do, which is like, I finished a product, I better go turn on ads. That is gambling. That is scary. I am saying don't do that. Okay. And that's easily the best way to lose your shirt in this game. Facebook is ridiculous to not use it. You should be using it, but it's how you use it and the strategy behind it that matters. I recommend doing exactly what I've said right here. Start with these 2-step posts, get a little bit more because you're going to learn. And I even went so far as on one of my whiteboards. I have whiteboards all over in here. I literally would just keep track of all the things I was learning, right? And then I'd be like, all right, it's been a week. Let me go make the changes. And then I would go and I keep running it again and erase the whiteboard. Oh, that's what I learned. Oh, there we go. Okay, I learned a little bit. I'm not remaking a whole offer every week. I'm just making tweaks and re-putting it out, making tweaks, re-putting it out. And if you do that, the game is a lot easier to win instead of this Hail Mary attitude, which is how most products fail. Products die in poor markets, and products die because the marketer didn't market. They Hail Married. What I'm teaching right here is marketing, right? And the act and daily tasks of a marketer is to be very attuned to what that market is telling you. So you can make changes and tweak and get to a spot where not only are you trying to spend as much money on ads with Facebook or anything as possible, you're trying to get to spending ads as fast as possible, because that really is the name of the game now. You can boo-hoo about it all you want to, but Facebook is absolutely a platform where the ads buyers are the ones that are winning.